Well, what is up, everyone? Jacob Roach back here from the Killing Joke Studios and Mixing with Metal. I'm excited today because we're finally finishing up my series on my top 10 plugins. I did 5 of my top paid plugins, I don't even know how many months ago, a while back, and now I'm doing my top 5 free plugins to round out the list. So once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, all that stuff. I just want to let you guys know straight off the bat, I'm planning on doing a 200 subscriber special. We just passed 100 subscribers. Whenever we get to 200 subscribers, I was going to do a live stream of just me editing some sessions or something and just kind of a Q&A answering any questions you guys want to throw. So make sure you share the video, tell your friends to subscribe, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can keep up to date with us, and yeah, so you can tune into that live stream whenever it happens. So once again, thank you guys so much for your continued support. So let's jump right into this. First plugin, which I actually made a video about not too long ago. It's called Nova, TDR Nova, Tokyo Dawn Labs, I think is the company. And they make a few plugins that I really enjoy. They make this Slick EQ as well, which I really like. But the reason I picked this is because it's one of the only dynamic EQs that you can get for free. Now, they do have something called the Gentleman's Edition, which is paid. And if you enjoy the plugin, I would suggest picking it up because I think it's only like $50 or something. But this by itself is awesome. You get 4 bands of dynamic EQ, and basically what this is going to do is you kind of sculpt or whatever you do with EQ normally. So let's say I cut a little bit, and then you set a threshold. And so whatever it does is it kind of self-automates as an EQ. So it's a really cool plugin. I really enjoy it, and I love that it's free because I haven't really seen a tool like this that's free out there. So if you want to learn more on how this kind of works and how you can implement in your mixes, make sure you check out my my video on sitting vocals in your mix, which is a good demonstration of this plugin. And I'll throw a link on the screen so you guys can click over to that. Awesome. So that's number 1. Number 2 is something I use all the time, and it's Audio Assaults Transient Designer. Now, I know there's the Flux Bittersweet is what I think it's called, and it's a much prettier plugin, but I'm more familiar with the SPL Transient Designer, and so this is more in that range. You get an attack and a sustain, and that's it. There are a few other free transient designers that do a little bit more, that have a few more options to them, but honestly, I don't do too much transient designing. I mean, I should say this. I'd use transient designing often, but I don't go real in depth with it. Generally, I might if I want like a little bit more crack out of a drum, I might knock down the sustain a little bit and bump up the attack a little bit. And like real subtle moves just to give it a little bit more crack, because you can get really out of control real fast with Transient Designer. So this is a really cool plugin, 100% free. Audio Assault's another great company. They offer a lot of free versions of their plugins, as well as actually just straight free out plugins. And they have really cheap versions as well, I think, again, around the $50 mark. So we have another Audio Assault plugin that we'll get to in a bit. So Transient's really cool. Again, all the links to these plugins will be in the description so you can download them for yourself. So here's a plugin I use on nearly every mix. This is Acon, I guess it would be, Digital Multiply. Okay, and this is just a chorus, okay? And the reason I love it so much is because I use this on vocals all the time. And I generally what I'll do is I'll load up the default setting and then turn down this effect level like -15 or -20 dB, like a lot. But a subtle chorus on vocals, especially in a metal mix, I found works really well to kind of give the vocals a larger-than-life feel. And so this works very, very well for me. I absolutely love this plugin. It's completely free. Some great presets in here, and it's just a great chorus in general. Even if you don't use it on vocals, it's great, on like even just a guitar chorus and stuff like that. So very, very nice chorus, and especially for the money. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it does have a lot of options. It does have a lot of features, and for free, you can't really complain. So On to our next one, which is Softtube's saturation knob. Now, this is this is featured in almost every top 10 free plugins or top 5 or whatever best free plugins there is, because it just works awesome. It's simple saturation. That's all it does. It's not too... It doesn't have too many features. It doesn't have like a trim or anything like that, which would be nice. But again, free plugin, you can't complain. So what is this useful for? Well, if you want to add some saturation to anything, it works really well on it. Just give it a little bit of subtle saturation and then kind of choose your saturation type, and then maybe use a trim plugin after it to compensate for the volume boost. And boom, there you go. It's one of those things that used across multiple tracks will work really well. Or you could use it... you could use it in a parallel way where you maybe send, like I distort a lot of vocals in parallel chains, so you can maybe crank it up and give a lot of saturation and then blend it into a dry vocal or something like that, or maybe to a snare drum. Something that, you know, is going to take saturation and it's going to work well for it. So this is just an awesome plugin. It sounds really great. Softtube's a great company, and it just works. It's tried and true, it works, and it's available for pretty much everything. So make sure you download that one as well. The last one is kind of in a similar vein as saturation knob, but what this is it's Assaults Headcrusher, and this is the free version. They do have a paid version that's $50. So why is this cool? Well, it's a saturation plugin, like saturation knob, has as you can see, a lot more features, including an output knob, which is great. You don't have numbers here, but you do it's kind of ticked, if you can see that happening. So you kind of have, you know, an idea of what's going on. So if I turn this up, blah, 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 and I can turn this down, whatever. So this is cool because it's basically a free version of Decapitator. Now, whether it sounds as good as Decapitator, it's debatable, but it's close, and it's cool for what it does. And I think as a free plugin, especially if you're kind of trying to experiment with what Decapitator would offer for you, it's pretty cool. The full version has a lot more features, basically is a straight Decapitator clone, but as a free version, it's really cool, and it does something similar to Decapitator that I think for free, it's at least worth the download. So other than that, I went through some maybe not standard plugins here. You know, we have a dynamic EQ, a transient designer, a chorus, and 2 saturation plugins. Don't have any straight EQs and compressors. And I just want to tell you guys why I did that, because there are a lot of EQs out there and compressors that are free that sound pretty good. Like the Slick EQ is awesome. But I would suggest these are tools that you maybe wouldn't find in a typical DAW. You wouldn't find as a stock plugin. You're not going to find saturation plugins that sound as good as these in your DAW. You'll probably find a chorus. You're not going to find a dynamic EQ, and certainly not a transient designer. So I wanted to provide you guys with some options that maybe you wouldn't find in stock plugins. Now, as far as stock plugins go, your simple EQ and compressor should be just fine. So, you know, if I load up my compressor here, Cubase compressor, that should be fine. I use Pro Tools as well. A lot of you guys know that if you've watched my other tutorials. I switch back and forth between Cubase and Pro Tools. And your stock plugin should work just fine in there. And if you haven't learned how to use them effectively in there, then you need to go back to learning how to EQ and compress effectively before worrying about getting other plugins that do things. I just want to note that these are just flavor things. All of these plugins really are just tools to flavor things, and really what you're going to get the most bang for your buck, I guess, and the best free plugins you can get are the ones that come with your DAW. I know it's not an exciting answer, it's not a sexy answer or anything like that, but it's a truthful answer. So if you don't have money to spend on plugins, I would suggest these. Don't go looking for a bunch of EQs and compressors that are free. While some of them do sound certainly good, I would just stick to your stock ones for the time being until you can probably pay for some, because there's some good paid EQs and compressors that do offer something different than what your stock EQ and compressor can offer. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you enjoyed this half of the video. I was thinking about maybe doing an expanded list some point in the future. So if you guys be interested to see more plugins that I like, just let me know. Let me know if you guys are curious about any other topics. Just shoot me a comment, shoot me a message, shoot me a message on Facebook, send me an email, anything. Any way you can get in contact with me, go ahead and get in contact with me and let me know what your question is, and I'd be happy to make a video for you. Once again, I'm planning on doing the 200 subscriber special, which would be just a Q&A, me editing some stuff or mixing some stuff or whatever, and I'll just stop every once in a while and answer some questions. So if that's something you guys are interested in, make sure you show me by subscribing to the channel and sharing to your friends and getting them to subscribe as well. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and I will see you next time.